Final Furlong Podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.
Welcome to the festive preview of the Final Furlong Podcast. We have got all the gravy for you over the next few days with Peter Michael, Andy Newton, and joining us for the Christmas special, it's our French racing expert, Adam Mills. The boys, the gang is all here. Last year we got you a truckload of winners. We can get you a truckload of winners over the weekends and the previews as well. Hopefully we can do it again. We will begin by looking at the King George feature race, obviously, on Boxing Day, St. Stephen's Day, whichever one tickles your fancy. It's going to be a cracking renewal of the race. The betting is headed by Spillane Tower. Currently, there is a slight chance he doesn't run 7-2, though, with Jeff Banks Bet as things stand. Grey Dawning is 4-1 after a blinding run in the King George. Il Est Francais, who was devastatingly impressive on this track a year ago, 4-1. More on that to follow. Banbridge 5s as he tries 3 miles over fences. Corbett's Cross, a 10-1 shot. There's a slight doubt that he might not run as well. L'Homme Presse, who was going to be second in this race, I should say, a couple of years ago when he tumbled behind Brave Man's Game 10s. And speaking of Brave Man's Game, he's 16-1. Jeff Banks thinks that Envoylen's got absolutely no chance and goes 16s about him. That might be a decision that comes back to haunt him. Adam Mills, why is the visually very impressive Il Est Francais basically now favoured for this race, considering the fact that he has been pulled up in 2 of his 3 runs?
I don't really know. I can't find a reason to get that excited. I've got an anti-bow slip for him from back in September, but he's been pretty average since. The form of when he pulled up at Auteuil was nothing exceptional. They didn't find any obvious reason for it. The only thing I could think is if people think Spillane Tower is not going to run, without the Irish runners, this is a pretty bang average King George. And I think visually what he did in the Kauto Star has basically carried him to be favourite for this race for 12 months. I don't particularly fancy him. I think he's just moody. And the minute something hassles him for the lead, I think we'll see the toys come out of the ground, which is exactly what happened at Auteuil. For me, this race is more about the Irish runners. I thought Banbridge was interesting if he stays the 3 miles. But the value that's finally drifted to a decent bet for me is Juntos Ganamos. He's 25-1 for David Cotin. I don't think he can win, so I'm going to have a very small stake on the win, more on the place. But I think he's the best of the French. He hassled Il Est Francais at Auteuil, got him beat easily. I think he'll get a really quiet ride and you'll see him run on into a place. In terms of how the race will pan out, really surely tries to steal a lead with Il Est Francais. Something goes with him and hassles him, probably the real whacker. Then we get a really truly run race where the best horses come to the fore. Spillane Tower should win if he runs. His form's miles clear of these. But for me, the value is Juntos Ganamos each way at 25s.
Oh, I like that. That was something that was sticking in my head as well. The last French special we did, you were talking about the fact that this horse, Juntos Ganamos, was the real thorn in Il Est Francais' side last time out. And that, well, now it's going to be a repeat dose, essentially. As long as he takes to Kempton, he's going to be up there. We know the real whacker will go forward because that's how he's more effective. We have heard that Derek O'Connor might go forward on Corbett's Cross from what Mullins has been saying. Essentially, this is all setting up that if Il Est Francais is back to the form he was in last season and Noel George is telling everybody he is, great, that's fantastic. But he's going to have a lot of competition for the lead.
Yeah, and I think you have to bear in mind, if you just looked at the paper form from that Kauto Star, I know we lost the horses who chased him home, but if Hermes Allen or the Ben Paulingot are in this, they'd be 100-1 to win this King George. So I still maintain Il Est Francais has not beaten a chaser rated above 150. So why would that make him favourite for King George?
Yeah, I think if you've got a double figure price about him, like Adam has, well done. You're in a great spot. I also kind of feel like you're stuck with him. And I'm not so sure I like the position, but hey, if he goes and does it, well done. Peter Michael, what do you think of the King George?
I think Spillane Tower will win. I think he's the up-and-coming horse in that race. And I think he's better than the rest of them. So I think he's a nice enough price at 4-1. I remember seeing him, I don't know, when was it? It was behind Facile Vega. It was a second run over fences and he caught my eye then. He's beaten 20 lengths, but he was just schooled around. There's no intention of even getting close that day. And then he's just gone on after that. Well, if you just look at the replay and you'll see.
Oh, no, you're right. You're 100% right.
He's gone on after that, and he's only lost 2 races. One behind Blood Destiny at Navan and one behind Fact to File. And his reappearance there in that cracking race. That was, the John Durkin. And obviously, I think, the 3 miles is his trip. He's going to improve as he, more experience over fences. So for me, he's the one to beat. And as Adam said, it's not the strongest of King George's. So, it really isn't. And yeah, if he runs, I think he's the one to beat. And I think the race was set up nicely for him.
Okay, Andy Newton, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it does win, Peter, I mean, it'll be Jimmy Mangan's first winner of the season, I think, actually, as well. Hasn't that winning yet? Interesting. I know he's not got many horses, but yeah, I mean, JB's last winner was back in 2000 as well. So it'd be nice to see, his colours gracing the winner's enclosure at Kempton. And interestingly, the French horse that you like, 5-year-old. I mean, the last 5-year-old to win the King George. Do we know?
Oh, long run.
1950.
No, long run.
I think that was 6. You've got to go back to about 1950 to find the last 5. Look, there's probably not that many that have run, but
give us a chance to get it, Andy. I don't think I was. I think I was a good.
Peter was so close to getting it. You're just
give us a chance, Andy.
The trainer was called Peter, if that helps. But I've never heard of him, obviously. But yeah, do you know what? I was a bit surprised that Hewitt came out as well. I don't know about you guys, because the ground was bang on for it, and obviously the past champ and all that. But it's talk of going to the Savills, I think, on Saturday now. So I was a bit disappointed with that, because I thought that was quite a nice each-way price. But yeah, look, Banbridge, I like that if it stays. That's obviously got its ground. Joseph's horses are flying at the moment as well, which is another plus. So, it's one at the track as well. So, yeah, Banbridge is definitely one for the short list. Grey Dawning, I think the price is probably about right now, because, I'm not quite sure why that was favourite a while ago, but personally. I don't really sort of buy into the hype of Grey Dawning at the moment. I think, I had a last time in the Betfair as well. I know it's a course winner, but I don't know. I'd be disappointed if Grey Dawning wins, put it that way. I just think all the form last year with Ginny's Destiny sort of been blown out of the water this season by that horse. And but yeah, look, I know Brave Man's Game hasn't won since it won this a couple of years ago, but you can't knock its Kempton form. I think it's like 1-1-2. So it's never been out of the first 2 there. Wouldn't surprise me if that's Nick's second, third. Maybe if you can get a top 4 again, I think that's not the worst shout. But the other one at value, I think Venetia's horse, L'Homme Presse, who, as we all know, unseated in Brave Man Game King George a couple of years ago. The commentary, if you watch that back, it's like, I remember it was going, it's 3 lengths down. But it weren't 3 lengths down. It was about a length down. And look, I'm not saying it would have won, but it was completely wrong. It wasn't 3 lengths down when it unseated. But the reason being, look, it falls down on a few trends. Like, realistically, you want to be sort of 8-year-old, 8 or younger than the King George. But its record fresh is the thing to cling to, right? Coming off a 200-day break, horses 1-1-1-1. Okay, 4 from 4 off a 200-day break. So the best time to catch it is fresh. One first time out, obviously, last season at Lingfield. We all know Venetia's horses are, unreal at the moment. She's picking up all the big... Well, to be honest, her strike rate has tailed off a tad, but she's still picking up, the big Saturday races, and obviously this one's on Thursday. But I think that is the each-way value, personally, along with Banbridge. So they're going to be the 2 main plays here.
I thought Grey Dawning had the insert colourful language knocked out of him in the Betfair Chase. And if he can come out and win this race, fair play. I think I have to wait till 10 minutes before we start using foul language, and we're not quite at the 10-minute mark yet, because I've learned the YouTube algorithm does not like when we use foul language. We can say it for the podcast, but not for this. So brace for 10 seconds when we'll start using the colourful language. Yeah, listen, I like Grey Dawning an awful lot. I like him a lot, and I think this race will suit him. Not on the back of that grueling King George Bedford Chase run. I'd let him go. Spillane Tower makes sense to me. I can completely see the case for L'Empresse. I just think Envoylen's overpriced. Massively overpriced. I know that people will scream and roar, oh, he was pulled up in this race a couple of years ago and he's best when fresh. Yeah, but the De Bromhead team are still going real strong. I think he's won 3 of his 8 off this kind of a layoff before. Can we confirm that one, please? Trish, page up. Thank you. 10 runs, 3 wins. Not great, not terrible. And one of those at least was a career best. And that was a real good run, beating the King George winner the last day. Maybe that's why Uick's not coming over. If we can't beat Envoylen, what's the point in going? So I'll back him each way and hope there's some sort of chaos in this race. It's going to be a cracker. I'm really looking forward to it. And it should be a blinding race, as should the Ladbrokes Christmas Hurdle, which the betting, as we record on the 23rd of December, as I completely forget my days and my bearings and where we are and what's going on and all of that. We've got Lossiemouth versus Constitution Hill, with 2 horses who've got 0 chance against them, but they're both quite talented. Lump Sum 33s, Burnett Road 16s, and then it's odds on about Nicky Henderson's returning. Wait, what? Odds against. All right. Odds on about Willie Mullins' Lossiemouth. Odds against about the reigning champion of this race, Constitution Hill. He's 6-5. She's 10-11. Who are you with, Adam Mills?
Neither of them. I'm just going to watch. I'm sorry. I just got to sit on the fence in this one. Well, at least it would get this over with. I'm so bored of this.
I'm going getting a drink. If there's going to be more fence sitting today, dearie me.
No, I got to sit on it. I'll tell you what I will say. If you get a match bet market, Lump Sum has got to be valued to beat Burdett Road. He's much better than Burdett Road. And I think Burdett Road is the pace angle. Surely Nico Boynville is praying that Burdett Road goes on. Because if this is slowly run and turns into a sprint, Lossiemouth will murder him. She's the fastest horse he's ever faced. Constitution Hill is the better horse if he runs to his ability. But I didn't really think she was particularly value at odds on, because if Burdett Road goes forwards, I think he's probably got more about him. It's just so messy. There's such a small field. This could be Constitution Hill's last race, or he could be odds on for the champion hurdle. Neither really appeal. But for me, yeah, Lump Sum will beat Burdett Road, so I'll have a little match bet on that. I'd imagine I might get 5 for him to do that, and then I'll just sit and watch these 2.
Okay, I understand why.
I didn't sit on the fence. I apologise, but I've spent half an hour watching the replays this today, and I can't split it.
No, I get it. I can completely understand why you're doing that, and you don't have to bet on every race. Sometimes a bet spoils a race. That being said, who are you with, Peter Michael?
Both of them. Bet both of them and hope one of them comes out. Then you get 1-2. There you go. And it's a good possibility one of them might come out. You're getting 1-2 and a 1-20 shot if one of them well, not 1-20, there'll be about 1-6, 1-7. And there's a possibility one of them might come out. So, but look, if I had to pick one of them, the way I approach this is, could I live with myself if I didn't back Lossiemouth at 11-10 or even money against Constitution Hill and she won? Yes. Could I live with myself if I didn't back Constitution Hill at 5-4 to beat Lossiemouth? Probably not. So it's one of those races. Afterwards, whoever wins was a certainty. Afterwards, if Lossiemouth wins, oh yeah, you had to back Lossiemouth. The doubts over Constitution Hill. She was an absolute super bet. And if Constitution Hill wins, you'll say to yourself, how could you not back a horse like that at 5-4? Now, if I had to pick one, and don't get me wrong, I rate Lossiemouth extremely highly, like everyone else, but I couldn't bet against Constitution Hill. I mean, I think his form is definitely better than Lossiemouth, but I do think Lossiemouth has a lot more to offer as well. The other side of that is if Lossiemouth doesn't beat Constitution Hill in that race, he probably never will. So it's her day to come out on top, because we all know what's gone on with the Henderson horse. But yeah, look, if I was picking one, I'd be going with Constitution Hill, because I think his form is a good bit superior to Lossiemouth.
I mean,
look at his form. Like John Bond, 22 lengths, Epidante, 12 lengths, Epidante, 17 lengths, State Man, 9 lengths. Like, that's like he's whacking good horses. This is just absolutely mashing them.
This is super simple in my mind. Maybe it's too easy in my mind. You back Constitution Hill. Lads, they're going chasing with Sergino. Why do you think they're doing that?
Yeah, exactly.
You think they're doing that because, that was a bit of crack. Sure, let's see. No, they're doing it because they think he's back. Nico de Boinville is giving interviews to the Racing Post where he's basically... There's a whole thing with Michael Buckley today. Front page of the Racing Post, because nobody anymore buys print media. It's dead. Print media is completely dead. So you just get the digital copy, right? Front page of the Racing Post on the 23rd of December. Constitution Hill owner Buckley fires back at critics, riding off his star. Michael Buckley says, there's been too many people talking that shit, and we're about to tear up Kempton and show everybody who's boss. Come get us, Lossymouth. We will destroy you. I might have paraphrased there a little bit, but I can tell you what's going to happen. He's going to win, and straight after the race, it's either going to be Richie Rich, or his racing manager, or somebody from the Mullins yard. Oh, well, I know we said we were going to run in the champion hurdle, but, we know now that we can't beat him. So we're going back to the mayor's hurdle. And that's what this is about. She's going to get beaten. He's going to win. He'll win the champion hurdle again. And she'll run the mayor's hurdle and she'll probably win it. And that's your anti-post double. Constitution Hill to win the champion hurdle and Lossymouth to win the mayor's hurdle. Andy Newton.
Look, I think Michael Buckley sort of, he took the bait, and if he was on one of my WhatsApp groups, there'd be a lot of like fish emojis going in, wouldn't there, after that. I think it was was it Ed Chamberlain, Skew and Luke Harvey when they're talking about, the injury and this, that and the other, and he's like, I'm just not injured, it's not injured, and all this kind of stuff. But, the fact remains, right, it might not have technically been injured, but it's still, missed the comeback race through a lung infection. It's suspected bout of colic. The race course gallop this, a month or two ago at Newbury was, didn't go to, as well as it should have done.
It was a disaster, darling.
Yes, a disaster. But, we all know that Constitution Hill, the form that Peter just, reeled off, would absolutely win this race, no problem. But, that is why it's not favourite. You're factoring in, and don't forget it's had a wind up as well, so whatever. But look, the vibes are coming out of the Hendo yard and Nico as well, that it's back and so on and so on. So, it is probably, like Adam said, one of those races that you probably just watch, enjoy, see what happens, and then there's going to be lots of, coming sort of subplots off it. And it wouldn't surprise me if Lossymouth loses, like you say, it'll end up in the mares, and vice versa. And if Constitution Hill loses, might not ever see it again. Who knows? But look, if I was going to pin my sort of hopes to one, I would probably go with Lossymouth, just because we know there's literally no issues with it. Personally, look, it's still got, I think, £8 to find, even with the £7 allowance. So, there is still some improvement to come there, but that's all she's been doing over the last 12 months. It's improving. So yeah, look, let's just, it's a watching race for me, but if someone went, here's 100 quid free, it would go on Lossymouth for me.
She's never won an open company 2 mile grade 1. I'm not saying she can't, but she hasn't done it yet. He's the reigning winner of this race. You can do an anti-post double with Jeff Banks bet right now. Constitution Hill 11-4 for the champion hurdle, Lossymouth for the mayor's hurdle, tenner each way, gets you back £283.83. Now, if I'm wrong, by the way, if I'm wrong, if she wins, doesn't preclude him from beating her in the champion hurdle in March, but it does mean she's definitely going for the champion hurdle. But if he beats her, doesn't have to destroy her, if he just beats her, that's her champion hurdle challenge over. Before it even begins. She's right back to the mayor's hurdle.
They are sort of quite lucky, really. They've got a bit of a fallback plan, obviously, with the mares, but Constitution Hill, if it loses, then it's still got to stick here probably for the champion hurdle, or we won't see it again. I don't know. I mean, look, you are literally just backing on whether you believe all the Hendo, Nico de Boinville, it's back, talk. If it is, it wins. If it doesn't, obviously, Lossy Mouth will win it easy peasy. And we all know that. It's obvious stuff.
Whatever Lucky 63, whatever Super Heinz I'm doing on St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day, Constitution Hill is in it. At 5-4, he's in it. The whole thing was, you take on Constitution Hill first time out in the season because there'll be something good enough that you can back it. Yeah, when he's the odds-on favourite, not when he's odds against. This is crazy. This is crazy stuff. 5-4, he just goes and wins. Happy days. We've got 5 runners in the Kauto Star Novices Chase. Jeff Banks goes 10-11 about the Jukebox Man, who was super impressive on his chase debut. Highland is 7-2. Macasio 5s. White Rhino 13-2. And Welcome to Cartier's. We had such high hopes for this horse. 20-1 in the Kauto Star Novices. Adam Mills, what do you reckon?
I thought there was an angle here to try and get the Jukebox Man beat. He's probably the best horse, and if he gets into a rhythm in front of Kempton, I think it'll be hard to peg back. But I just thought he was too short. His jumping at Newbury seemed to sort of go to pot in the closing stages. He went to his left. His jumping fluency, he lost 9% of his speed on average. Masaccio was a much better jumper, but he just didn't really get into a top speed until it was too late. So I thought he was a bit of value. But I've talked myself into a bet this afternoon on White Rhino, who's won twice over fences this year. That the form is nothing special. He's won races in the north. But I just think this race could set up really nicely for him. He's a nice, strong traveller. He's won 7 of his 14 starts. He's going to sit behind the 3-mile pace. The Guerrero and Greenall team have just had a little bit of dip in form. They've only had 3 of their last 31 go in, but they're having quite a good season. He's got quite a bit to find on the figures, but I just thought 8-1 was quite a good each-way value, because I think if the Jukebox Man jumps like he did at Newbury, he might be found out at this level.
Ooh, I like the fact that you're taking on the Jukebox Man. I'm not sure the ground is going to be ideal for him either. Peter Michael, your thoughts?
Yeah, to be honest, I think the Jukebox Man will win. Best of them over hurdles by a good bit in my mind. That run behind Dancing City was some run. I thought in his last run, Masaccio finished with a bit of running left, and I actually thought on the day he possibly could have beaten the Jukebox Man. Tom Cannon just went for that horse too late in my mind. But with that being the Jukebox Man's first run, and Ben Pauling said he's going to improve a ton for it, I think he should be beating these. I respect Highland. He's 2 from 3 or 3 from 4 over fences. I respect him. So he's obviously the danger because it's a different piece of form than the Jukebox Man and Masaccio. White Rhino was a horse I used backing over hurdles from a much lower rating. Yeah, he's a big horse, definitely. Probably chasing is his game, so I can see where Adam's coming from. But I'd be a bit surprised now if he was good enough to beat the Jukebox Man or the others. Well, he might come 3rd or 4th, but I couldn't see him coming in the top 2. I'd have to go for the Jukebox Man, even though I do think Masaccio should have beaten him last time. But with Ben Pauling saying he's going to come on a lot for it, and Ben Jones is a jockey I like, if he gets into a good jumping rhythm, he should be too good for these in my mind.
And you know somewhere Paul Nicholls is thinking to himself, he really hopes Welcome to Cartier's or Brave Man's Game goes and wins, so he can grab the microphone on either ITV or Racing TV and say, "You see that, Johnny Deneen? You see that? We do have Grade 1 horses to ditch it." He might have to wait until the shallow hurdle to be able to go off on a bit of a rant.
But Johnny Deneen has a point there, though. I mean, like, the horses they're buying for the money they're buying. Jesus.
There's one horse. We had a conversation with this before we started recording. There's one horse that the panel is excited about from Ditch It all festive season. For the entirety of the Christmas racing, there is one horse that we're excited. No, I'm excited to see Rhubarb.
No? Oh.
But Adam is excited to see Regent Stroll. Yeah. That's it.
Well, there you go. So he is a point. Like, I mean, compare them to the horses Mullins is getting, the scouting Mullins has. Do you know what I mean? It's something you can't compare.
Paul, got some advice for you. Come here. There's a couple of fellas I know. There's this guy called Adam Mills, and there's this guy called Peter Michael. Both of them will be able to source some good horses for you. Start talking to them. Have them work with Tom Malone. Kick us 10%. Happy days. You crush
Absolutely.
that Willie. You make that Willie Mullins fella just look like an amateur. Moving swiftly along, Andy, what do you reckon?
Well, I think. Well, the interesting thing with this race will be, what happens, who takes the, the pace on, really, because Highlander, Jukebox Man both like to front run. Obviously they both can't, I don't think. And are they going to sort of cut each other's throats up there? I don't know. We know Highland stays. I mean, look, if you are against the Jukebox Man, you will probably cling on to the trip just slightly. I mean, there's up to 3 miles, and I don't know, was it staying on that well over 2.5 at last time out at Newbury? I don't know. I mean, Saccio was probably closing at the line, so you could argue that will be better over the longer trip. Alan King's going all right at the moment. White Rhino, I mean, I think it's done nothing wrong, is it? I mean, the only thing I'd say against that, if you like your trends, 8 of the last 10 of this winners of this have been aged slightly younger, 6 or 7, so 8-year-old, and you'd think one of the younger legs would, have that one personally. I mean, you can even probably make a case for the Nickel Sauce. Probably need to run last time out. Jumped all right. Just got tied up at Sandown, I think it was, wasn't it? So it's bound to improve for that. The Jukebox Man is probably the one, but I think at the prices, even money, whatever it is. So let's take a punt on the Alan King horse if I was going to have a wager here, but probably another sort of watching one because, like I say, make a case for all 5 personally. But yeah, just because the trip I think will suit it. More than the Jukebox Man, but we'll find out.
Okay. I mean, it's probably going to be the Jukebox Man who wins, but it's hardly exactly.
Only one favourite's won this in the last 10 as well. Just another thing to throw in there, and that was Chambleu, I think, back in 2020. So yeah, there's been a lot of fads turned over in this. If you are against the Jukebox Man, you might be glad to hear that bit of info. But anyway,
was Brave Man's Game not favoured for this? How was a Hoy Senior sent off favourite for this? Jeez. All right. I don't. Yeah, easy in hindsight, I guess. Just very briefly, at Leopardstown on the 26th, there's the Grade 2 Juvenile Hurdle. The whispers I'm hearing about Hello Neighbour. I've had at least 3 people come up to me in person going, this fella's an absolute machine. So he's going to start out in a Grade 2. That's interesting. But our old friend Willie the Hoolie is back for his second start. Adam Mills, are you with him at about 6-4? And clearly, Willie listened to your podcast, your appearance in the Final Furlong, because the hood goes back on.
Exactly. The hood goes back on. I'm sure he probably phoned Ardle Shy rather than ringing me, but the hood goes back on. That'll help him settle. I just think this is more likely to be a more even gallop. There doesn't appear to be the likelihood of this being absolutely end-to-end like it was before. Who knows if Hello Neighbour, I haven't heard anything myself, but I just thought this was an interesting race. I think whatever wins this will be favourite for the Triumph. I just think this is going to be a very strong renewal. I really like Mercia. I think she is an excellent filly, and the fact she's going to get some weight here is interesting. What I would say about Willie the Hall is the hood going back on to help him settle. I think he'll reverse the form of Naturally Nimble. I don't really see how the likes of Sony Bill, Lady Vega Allen, or It's Bilbo, I think their form is some way below those at the head of the market. So I don't think there's going to be a springer. But the gamble on Hello Neighbour would suggest that they think this is a bit of a tool. I can't have a bet on Willie the Hall at 6-4 for all I think he is still the best juvenile in the Mullins yard. But last time, I still think he should have won. I know he was keen and they went too hard, but it was a terrible race. And he got picked off late. He still travelled like the best horse. The hood goes back on. Maybe after this, he'll be back to 5-1 favourite for the Triumph. But you just got to watch it. And whatever wins this will shorten up for the Spring Juvenile and the Triumph from there on.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Anybody else want to chime in on the Juvenile Hurdle? No,
I'll leave it.
Shakes of the head. Very briefly, Andy, the Grade 1 William Hill Formby Novices Hurdle at Aintree. We've got Potter's Charm as a red hot favourite. This is a cracking race. John O'Neill's Road Less Travelled with AJ Fours, and Celtic Dino is being completely dismissed in the betting. 11-2 currently. That'll do for me. He was really impressive last time out. I'll side with him. What do you like, Andy?
Well, yeah, I mean, all the focus is going to be on Potter's Charm, 3 from 3, impressive last time at Cheltenham. But the horse that came second that day, that Valgran, is thrown in a bit of a stinker since. So, but if you go previous to that race, the Potter's Charm form looks all right. There's a few that have come out on one since, 16-1, I think, for the Turners and 25 for the Albert Bartlett. I mean, this race has actually thrown up 3 Supreme winners as well over in the last 20 odd years. Constitution, I think, won it, and Somerville Boy and Noland, I think. I'm not sure, but I think they did. But look, I think Country Mile, I think I'd probably pin my hopes on that one. I mean, look, Celtic or Celtic Dino, that ran all right. I mean, but the joyous sort of forming behind it, that didn't run that well. I know the ride got a bit of a lot of focus last time out from Nico again, but I think that, I don't know, just that Country Mile, I mean, absolutely sort of slammed that wingman at Cheltenham, 7.5 lengths, and that's like, I think that's not a bad horse. Seems to be getting better with every run. I mean, yeah, it was second behind the John Joe horse here. That road's less travelled, but it's come out and improved since then. So look, Country Mile at 11-2. Niggles, there's only bloody 7 runners here, isn't there? So if you are looking for a bit of an each way, that's not ideal. With only 2 places, but yeah. But then Sam Twiston Davis comes here as well, doesn't he? So I mean, he probably would have had the option to ride the Real Whacker. You think?
Oh yeah.
In the King George, so he's decided to come off that for a reason, and you could probably make a case for it being Potter's Charm. So that's an angle as well. So I wouldn't totally rule Potter's Charm out, but I think the value's Country Mile personally.
I'm kind of surprised that Brian Hughes isn't on, but he's gone to Aintree for the Real Whacker.
Yeah, what the Whacker? Yeah, well, Gavin Sheehan's on again, isn't he? So I mean, he could have a nice little spare ride like last year. We'll see.
Some story if Gavin Sheehan wins 2 King Georges on spare rides back to back. That'll be quite some story. And again, just very briefly, the Racing Post Long Distance Novice Chase. Congratulations to everybody who campaigned for this. Well done. Well done. Well done. Outstanding stuff. Well done. We were having a real problem in Ireland with small field races. So there was a number of journalists who got together and they campaigned the race planning committee. Oh, you got to get rid of the 2-mile Grade 1 novice at the Leopardstown Christmas meeting. Get rid of that race. We don't need it. We got the race in Limerick. Too many options for these novice chasers. Ballyburn goes to Kempton. The 2 Gordon Elliott horses went over for the Henry VIII Novices Chase. Well done. And you got 4 runners for this 3-mile Grade 1 novice. You bunch of geniuses. You don't have a bull's notion what you're talking about, half of you. Spoofing constantly. Oh, let's turn these Grade 1s into handicaps. Jesus Christ. Okay, best bets for Boxing Day, St. Stephen's Day, Adam Mills.
Well, having watched you take the piss out of this Grade 1, I think there's a nice bet here. So my best bet would come in the long distance novice chase in Stellar Story. I think there's a bit of value there. That race at Punchestown, I know it was a ridiculous renewal of the Florida Pearl. They've got 3 Gigginstown runners, and they're obviously trying to make sure that the right one wins, and it all got a bit messy, but I think he'll come on massively for that. I just didn't really understand why an Albert Bartlett winner in Stellar Story was 9-2 against Croke Park, who I think was a bit fortunate in a messy race.
Agreed.
And I just wasn't really sold by what Better Days Ahead did in a beginner's chase. I know he beat Slade Steele, but I'm just not sure on that supreme form anyway. And I thought at the prices, I just thought Stellar Story was completely wrong. When I did it in my head before looking, I had Stellar Story around the favourite mark, and it's 9-2 currently. So that's got to be a bet for me, and that's probably the best bet on the day for me.
Oh, I'm liking that. Especially like the fact that it comes in the race that I'm taking the absolute piss out of. But what a stupid decision to get rid of that 2-mile Grade 1 novice. What a ridiculous... A race that has produced Duvan, Vatour, Champagne Fever come from that race. Sizing John was second in it. Superstars came from that race. Any Second Now was second in it. For goodness sakes. Let's get rid of that race. We got the race in Limerick. Not according to Willie Mullins. Not according to Gordon. And no consideration... They weren't talked to at all. Bunch of morons. Peter Michael. Season's greetings. What's your nap for Boxing Day, St. Stephen's Day?
I'm going to move away from the races we've previewed, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll give you three that I think have very good chances. 11:55 at Aintree, Crystal Glance. 11:57 at Fontwell, Get Over That Hill. So that'll be a nervous 2 minutes for anyone betting them. Well, there's more than 2 minutes, but there's 2 minutes between the races. And then Wolverhampton, 3:55, Overnight Oats. So those will be my three main ones so far. But there'll be more. I haven't my eye on one down Royal, but I won't give it away yet. And if the money comes for it, it'll absolutely piss in.
How can people find out what your selection is on Boxing Day, St. Stephen's Day?
Go on my Twitter and send me a private message, and I'll add you into the group. It's free till the end of December, so it costs you nothing, and then you can leave in December if you want, or you can continue if you like. But there's one I have my eye on in Down Royal. I won't give anything away, but if the money comes for it, it'll win. Won't even come off the bridle. It's currently 13-2. It'll probably drift out to about 10-1, and then I'm hoping it'll get hammered back down. Might finish off 5-2, 3-1.
At P Michael Racing on X, get involved, and you can get access to the gravy. He's been banging in winners left, right, and centre. It's just crazy what's been happening. We
had a 66-1 I put up in the group, just beating the neck. Thought he was going to win. Oh, that was a sickener. That would have been nice. Auguste Lemaire, ex-Jim Bolger horse, nearly got up in Chelmsford, I think it was.
What was that, a win bet? You didn't do it each way?
I just put a win. Some of the members did it each way, but I just advised a win, yeah. So it was sickener for me. I had a small bet on a win, and I thought it was going to win because the horse will stay further, and it was coming with a challenge, and I thought it was going to get up, but just didn't get up, which was annoying. But you're doing well if you're picking those type of horses and they're getting close. So hopefully we'll hit a big one soon.
Okay, you want to be with Peter Michael? He's in form at Peter Michael Racing on X to find out more about how to get into the group. Andy Newton, your nap for St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day.
Look, I think Peter mentioned one at Fontwell. I think Gary Moore's going to load of runners down there, and it'll be a massive shock if he's not, firing at least one or two on the board. He loves that meeting. So look, that's just something on a side note. I think the first race at Leopardstown looks interesting as well with Willie Mullins. That Kopek the Boards is back out. That's going to have a lot of attention. That would be in a lot of ACCAs and doubles and trebles and stuff. Being it's an early race. Super impressive when it at Fairy House in the bumper. So figuring quite highly in the Cheltenham anti-post markets. But look, long press in the King George. I think each way. I think if you can get obviously you've got 3 places, but some might go 4 places. I think that's the shout. Remember that it's record fresh 4 from 4 off 200 plus days. So long press in the King George each way for me.
Okay, the hamster has been turning. The wheel has been gathering up a bit of steam. It's starting to be burning now a little bit. The momentum is starting to build so much. So I've switched. I still like Envoy LN. I'll do him in some sort of combination forecast / tricast, but I'm going to go with Spillane Tower in the King George. Lucky 15, Spillane Tower, Hello Neighbour, Celtic Dino, Constitution Hill. That's my bet for St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day, and that wraps our coverage of day 1 of the Christmas racing.
The Final Furlong Podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.